You're lying your baby on a playmat, doing the same thing you've done 100 times before. The same hanging toy, the same little kicking legs, the same wide-eyed stare. And then, out of nowhere, it happens. Their arm lifts, their hand opens, their whole body seems to focus for 1 second, and they reach. Not a reflex, not a random flail, an actual reach, like they suddenly meant it. For a lot of parents, this moment feels almost magical because it seems to appear in a single day. Yesterday, your baby looked at toys. Today, they're trying to get them. So the question is obvious. Why does it feel so sudden? How can a baby go from mostly waving their arms around to acting like they just discovered they can interact with the world? What makes this moment so powerful is that reaching is not just a hand movement. It's one of the first visible signs that your baby is beginning to connect what they see, what they want, and what their body can do. It's the beginning of intention in motion, and that's why this milestone feels bigger than it looks. Most people see the reach itself. What they don't see is the silent buildup that has been happening underneath it for weeks. Because your baby didn't wake up one morning and randomly unlock a new skill. Their brain, vision, muscles, posture, and attention have been practicing for this long before you notice the first successful grab. And once you see what had to come together to make that one tiny reach possible, the moment becomes even more incredible.
A very common explanation is that babies suddenly start reaching because their arms get stronger. And that's not wrong. Strength matters. A baby does need more control in the shoulders, neck, and upper body to move with purpose, instead of just jerking through space. But strength alone doesn't explain why the change can feel so dramatic. If reaching were only about stronger arms, babies would simply begin moving more forcefully. But intentional reaching is not just movement, it is aimed movement. Your baby has to notice an object, stay interested in it, judge where it is, organize their body, and then send the hand toward the target. That means this milestone is really a coordination story, not just a muscle story. That's also why the early attempts can look messy. Before babies truly reach, they often swipe, bat, wave, miss, bump, or accidentally brush a toy. To adults, that can look clumsy or random. But developmentally, those imperfect attempts are not failed reaching. They are the training ground for reaching. Your baby is learning distance, timing, and cause and effect. They're discovering, when I move like this, something happens out there. And because babies practice in tiny, invisible pieces, parents often don't notice the buildup. You see the first clean reach, and it feels sudden. But in reality, your baby has been collecting parts of this skill day by day. Better head control, longer visual focus, more stable shoulders, more awareness of their own hands, more interest in objects. Then one day, those parts click together just enough for you to finally recognize the pattern. So if arm strength is only one piece, what are the other hidden pieces your baby has been building all along?
The first hidden piece is vision. Before babies can reliably reach, they have to become much better at looking. Not just seeing that something exists, but tracking it, studying it, and beginning to understand where it is in space. That's a much bigger job than it sounds. A toy isn't useful to a baby's body until the brain can turn "I see it" into "I know where to send my hand." That's why early reaching depends so much on eye-hand coordination. Your baby's visual system and motor system are learning to talk to each other. The eyes gather information. The brain estimates distance and direction. The body tries to follow through. At first, that conversation is slow and messy, but with repetition, it becomes more organized. The second hidden piece is body stability. A reach does not start in the hand. It starts in the body. Babies need enough control in the head, neck, shoulders, and trunk to keep themselves steady while one arm moves forward. That's one reason big changes in posture can suddenly make reaching look more mature. As babies gain better control of their chest and trunk, their arms become freer to act with purpose. This is why you'll often notice reaching blooming around the same general window as stronger tummy time skills, pushing up through the arms, better head control, and eventually more stable supported sitting. It's all connected. When the body stops using all its energy just to stay organized, more energy becomes available for exploration. And then there's attention, which may be the most underrated part of all. Your baby has to want the object enough to try. Reaching is part movement, but it is also motivation. The toy becomes interesting, the world becomes reachable, and that changes everything. But even that isn't the deepest part of the story, because reaching is doing more than helping your baby grab a toy. It's changing how they experience reality itself. When babies begin reaching on purpose, they're not just developing a motor skill. They're crossing into a new psychological stage of learning. Until then, the world mostly happens to them. They see faces, hear sounds, feel touch, and react. But reaching introduces something new. Now they can act on the world. That shift matters enormously, because the moment a baby discovers, I can make contact, the world becomes more than something to watch. It becomes something to test, to explore, to influence. This is why the reaching stage often comes with an explosion of curiosity. Once babies learn that their hands can bring objects closer, turn them, drop them, mouth them, and pass them from one hand to the other, they begin gathering information at a completely different level. Texture, weight, shape, sound, resistance, distance. Reaching opens the door to learning through action. And this is also why the skill can seem to appear overnight. Development often looks sudden when several systems reach a tipping point together. Vision improves a bit. Posture improves a bit. Attention lasts a bit longer. Motivation gets stronger. Hand control gets cleaner. None of those changes may look dramatic by themselves, but once they line up, the result looks like a leap. In other words, your baby didn't suddenly become interested in the world that day. They suddenly became able to show you how interested they had been becoming all along. That's the deeper twist. Reaching is not just about the toy. It is one of the first clear signs that your baby's mind and body are starting to work as a team. And once that team forms, the next question becomes just as important. What does this moment actually mean for you as a parent watching it happen? For parents, this milestone can be surprisingly emotional because it feels like the first visible proof that your baby is becoming an active little person with preferences, goals, and curiosity. They're not only looking anymore, they're choosing. They're not only reacting anymore, they're trying. So when your baby reaches for a toy, your finger, your shirt, or the page of a book, it helps to see that moment for what it really is. It's exploration, it's learning, it's agency. Your baby is practicing the idea that the world is available to them. And this is where your role quietly matters. Not because you need to force the milestone, but because simple, responsive moments support it beautifully. Placing an interesting object just within view, letting your baby have floor time, giving them chances to look, focus, miss, try again, and succeed. Handing a dropped toy back without turning it into a performance. These little moments tell your baby, your efforts matter. The world responds. At the same time, this is one of those milestones where gentle awareness is more useful than panic. Babies reach it on a range, and development is never perfectly identical. But if by around the middle of the first year, your baby is not showing progress toward reaching, bringing objects to the mouth, improving head control, or using both hands in a balanced way, that's worth bringing up with your pediatrician. Not as a reason to fear the worst, but because milestones are guides meant to help parents notice when a closer look could be helpful. Because once worry is replaced with understanding, this milestone becomes what it was meant to be. Not a test your baby passes, but a window into how beautifully development unfolds.
So the next time your baby suddenly reaches for something and you catch yourself thinking, where did that come from? The answer is this. It came from everywhere, from weeks of invisible practice, from stronger muscles and steadier posture,
from sharper visual focus, from better coordination, from growing curiosity, from a brain and body slowly learning how to work together, until one day, the effort became visible. What looks sudden is usually development revealing itself all at once. And maybe that's one of the most reassuring truths in baby milestones. So much is happening before parents can clearly see it. Growth is often quiet before it is obvious. Your baby may seem like they're doing the same small things again and again, when in reality, they're building the foundation for the next leap right in front of you. That's why this moment matters so much. Reaching is not just about grabbing a toy. It's about the beginning of intentional action. It's your baby saying, in the earliest possible way, I want to know this world. And if you've seen that moment in your own home, you've witnessed something much deeper than a cute milestone. You've watched curiosity become movement. If this helped you see your baby a little differently, stay close, because the next milestone parents often misunderstand is just as fascinating.